Hello and welcome. My name is Andrew Ferguson, your host of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast and writer on UCLA on SI. Today we're going to be talking about UCLA football and why they are more than just hype. And what that means is that UCLA now has a team to make some noise in the Big Ten and beyond. And I'm going to tell you why. But first off, I want to thank you for tuning in today. It means a lot. I love the support. I hope you really enjoy what I'm doing here. So this is going to be broken down into three main topics. First, we're going to go over the coaching, why UCLA now has people in the right spots to make them into a good team. Then we're going to go off into transfers, kind of talk about what their strength is going to be the next season. And then we're going to take a sneak peek into their schedule and to show that they actually have a very good chance of having a really good record overall by the end of the season. But yeah, we'll get right into it. Coaching wise, UCLA has coaching now. That is something they have not had. They had Deshaun Foster, who was fired before October. And then they went to Tim Skipper. And we saw the result of that. We saw 3 good games from that season, and then the UCLA would drop all the rest. But now Jarman isn't playing. He doesn't care about stories. He wants people who will win games for them. And in comes Bob Chesney, who was able to make the college football playoffs with James Madison this season. He was a first-round exit. He played against a really good Oregon team, who we'll get into later as well. Alongside him, he has Dean Kennedy and Colin Hitchler. Dean Kennedy is the offensive coordinator. Colin Hitchler is the defensive coordinator. Both have a very lengthy resumes. But what makes them so impactful for this UCLA team is what they did at JMU with less talent than they will have now. Last season, JMU was 9th in scoring offense, 13th in scoring defense, 3rd in rushing defense, and 6th in rushing offense. If those numbers don't get you excited, I don't know what will. UCLA has more talent, and they have the coaches to put them in the right places. The biggest critique when Chesney was hired was his lack of Power 5 experience. He played at he coached at Holy Cross, Assumption, and then recently at JMU. He won at all of those levels, but still the Power 5 is a new chapter in his career, and it'll be interesting to see how he performs year one for the Bruins, which I think it's pointing to good, especially when you kind of get into what is surrounding him. Like I said, little Power 5 experience, but that's when his coordinators will come in. Dean Kennedy has a little bit of it. I believe he was a graduate assistant at Florida, and then he kind of bounced around. And Colin Hitchler, he was a co-defensive coordinator there at Alabama. And if you don't know, Alabama is a very good defensive school. So the fact that Hitchler has that on his resume and is the UCLA defensive coordinator can only mean good things. And now he has even more talent than he had at JMU, a team that was already ranked 9th in the nation in scoring offense. The sky is honestly the limit for the Bruins, especially if these coaches can come out here and be the coach that they were where they were successful. UCLA is looking really good in that side of things, but it doesn't matter much if there's not talent, and that's where it comes into the transfer portal. Bob Chesney in his opening conference said he was not worried about transfers leaving UCLA. And that it honestly does make sense. Before he left entered James Madison, Kurt Cignetti pulled a lot of their players to Indiana, Elijah Surratt to name one of them. But still, he was able to turn them into a winner. He's a proven recruiter. He knows talent well. And he got a lot of his guys with him. For example, he was able to get Wayne Knight. He was a top 10 rusher in the league this season. UCLA desperately needed a running back, and they got one in him. Last season, UCLA's team as a whole, minus Nikhil Amaliava rushing-wise, would have been ranked 12th in the nation as an individual. And what that means that there were 12 single players who had more rushing yards than UCLA did in all of 2025. With Wayne Knight, and Wayne Knight was one of those players who had more rushing yards than UCLA's running back room combined last season. It was a tough year for the Bruins rushing offense. Jalen Berger, Javian Thomas, Anthony Woods, Anthony Frias II, all pretty good guys, but still they could not get consistent touches, and that's what ultimately hurt UCLA's rushing defense, and the offensive line was subpar especially running. Moving on to more offensive stuff, we have Nico Amaliava returning. That was probably the second best news UCLA could have gotten. Well, he didn't have the best season, in 2025. There were a lot of factors that contributed to that, right? He had a tight end coach calling plays for him for half the season. A coaching change, no matter what for a college player, is hard, but he stuck with it, and he was a huge leader and a big factor in UCLA's amazing 3-game winning streak last season against Penn State, Maryland, and then I believe Michigan State too was that third team. However, he couldn't continue that success, but it is fine. This season should be no different. Like Chesney, Nico Amaliava has college football playoff experience. That can mean two things for UCLA. Either that means UCLA, when they get into the college football playoff, they will have a good quarterback who knows where he's at. But again, he will be 2 years removed, so we'll see if that even matters. But like I said, Amaliava is a huge returner for UCLA. He will have a good season, no doubt about it, because as I will get to it, he has the tools to now, kind of expand his game and really truly be the quarterback we know he is. We saw his rushing ability, increased this season, but his passing kind of went down. But there were a lot of factors that contributed to that. And that started in the wide receiver room. Quasi Gilmer, Rico Flores Jr., Titus Moiko Atamialala, and Mikey Matthews were his receivers. None of them had over 500 yards receiving. Well, Quasi Gilmer and Rico Flores were pretty solid. They were not the ideal receivers for Amaliava, but now he has a really good receiving room around him entering the season. Starting off with Leland Smith from San Jose State. He is going to absolutely tear things up for the Bruins this season. He is 6'4", weighs 215 pounds, and he is fast. There's no stopping him when he is hot. He is going to be deadly in the red zone. There's no doubt about it. Off a fade route, anything like that, he's going to catch it all. His physicality will kind of replicate what Elijah Surratt, who I mentioned before. So like I said, there's a lot of pieces that UCLA is putting together that could replicate what Indiana has done. And that is a bold claim, but when you look at it on paper, UCLA is a very similar team to what Indiana looked like in 2024, before they, when they made the college football playoffs but were eliminated by Notre Dame in round 1. UCLA is looking very similar to that team right now, and that can only mean good things for the Bruins. Again, staying on the receiver end, Aiden Mazzell, he's from Florida. He was a 4-star transfer for the Bruins. He's going to be just as impactful as Leland Smith, if not more. I believe he ran like a 9.5 100-meter dash in high school, which is like a second slower than the world record of the 100-meter dash. So UCLA has a speedster who could expand the field. And touching back on Nico Amaliava, he has an arm to make those throws. And that's something we are going to see probably a lot this season, especially with just how the entire offense is shaping up. Right. Quasi Gilmer showed some flashes in the deep passing game. Same thing with, I believe it was Titus Moiko Atamialala, but still they are not a consistent speedster like Mazzell. Mazzell did go down with an injury this season, so he probably will be 100% when he shoots up for the Bruins. But overall, Mazzell is going to be a huge factor in UCLA's team this season. Another receiver who will get notable touches will be Landon Ellis. He is a JMU transfer, so he is familiar with Dean Kennedy's system, meaning he probably will see a lot of touches because he is the most familiar with it on the roster. Excuse me. So that'll be really good to see. I can't wait to, see how this offense develops. Again, Wayne Knight will play a huge role in letting those players have a great season. His rushing threat will open up UCLA's offense a lot. Teams last season really were not scared of UCLA's running game, and that's why Amaliava had to do it all himself. But yeah, play action, it'll be great. We're going to see a lot of new things with the UCLA offense. It's going to be a really good season overall. Defensively, I think the biggest name that comes to mind is Zahir West. Uh, was one of the best freshman edge rushers last season. Had 7 sacks. Was named to the all freshman team, I believe, and he was like the Sun Belt Player of the Year as a freshman. So UCLA got a very good player with him. I also believe he was at UCLA's basketball game on the 20th when they played against number 4 Purdue, and he stormed the court. So it's clear he's happy to be a Bruin, and he's going to play like it too. But yeah, that was the most shocking transfer I think UCLA got on defense, and Colin Hitchler is going to be able to make this team very strong on defense as well. Scooter Jackson, we saw him come back. He was great with UCLA. UCLA did not have much of a line, so teams were able to throw all over them, but still, they made it really hard to. Fernando Mendoza, when they played against UCLA, he threw a pick. So that just goes to show that UCLA knows how to play against good quarterbacks, and with a new defensive coordinator, they should be golden. So that's going to round off what the new talent acquisitions are. I'm sure I missed a few names, but again, I'll probably make another one, a podcast similar to this, where we go over the defense in more depth. But right now, I want to take a really quick sneak peek at UCLA's schedule next season. And it goes like this. They're going to open off the season against California, San Diego State, and they're going to play Nevada, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Oregon, Illinois, Michigan State, Purdue, USC, and Wisconsin. Knee-jerk reaction to that list of teams. I really only see potentially 3 losses max. And even those games could be a toss-up. Those games being Oregon, USC, and Michigan. But UCLA will probably be able to sneak a win or two here. It might not be against Oregon, but I think they could beat Purdue or Michigan. They are really good teams in the Big Ten. But still, UCLA's team this season looks scary. Their offense is going to be very powerful. There's no doubt about it. And I don't see them losing non-conference games like they did last season. Obviously, UCLA really had a hard time against New Mexico, UNLV. Those are the ones I could think of right now. But I know those games were pretty bad for the Bruins. But looking at like the non-conference games this time, Cal, San Diego State, Nevada. Cal might have a decent team, but I think UCLA will be able to overpower them with what they got going on now. Maryland, again, should be a win. They beat them this year with this team who wasn't that good. Wisconsin, Purdue should be a win. Michigan State, Illinois could be tricky, but I still think UCLA should be able to get a win there. So again, you're starting to see parallels between that 2024 Indiana team the year before they won the title. They should have a great Big Ten record overall, but they need to play well against Oregon, Michigan, and USC, obviously, to get that done, because those teams are going to be ahead of them in the standings, or close to where they're at in the standings. So if UCLA can pull off a win or two there, they should be good and have a shot at the Big Ten title game, especially if Ohio State has a down year. If Indiana has a slump, they're going to be losing Mendoza to the draft. And Alberto just hit the portal too. So they're going to be figuring out what to do at quarterback. So there is potential for Indiana to show some slippage to open up things for the Bruins. So yeah, when you look at that, UCLA should be good. And like I said, they will make some noise in the Big Ten and could even make a college football playoff spot. Is it realistic? Sorta. I believe personally that UCLA has a good enough team to compete now. If Chesney was able to score 34 points against Oregon in the playoff game, they should be able to do so with a better defense when they played this season. So yeah, UCLA is looking very good this season. At worst, they could be sitting at 9-3, which is still a 6-win increase compared to last season. It should be interesting to see how this season boils down, but what needs to happen is UCLA cannot, mess around in these games. We saw that far too often. All the non-conference games from this season should have gone to UCLA. That is because that is the Westwood standard. Excuse me. They should be able to absolutely dominate this season. There's little doubt about it. It's going to be exciting. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Let me know what you guys think. It's just going to be a very exciting time for UCLA. We are entering a golden age of UCLA football. But that's all I have today. I'm your host, Andrew Ferguson. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at AJ Ferguson, A Ferguson, JRN on X, to kind of get more live updates on games and that kind of stuff, along with any news UCLA related. Also check out my page on UCLA on SI. I also will have an article linked to this podcast kind of discussing more of the stuff I've talked about in more depth. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, it's been a good one. Have a good one, everyone.